Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this BT4Europe event. I'm Andrea Kay, and I will be your host and moderator this morning. BT4Europe is the European network of business travel associations, and today we are launching our position paper on the digital transformation of business travel. Our paper argues that the full digital transformation of business travel will unlock important sustainability and efficiency gains for the sector. On the agenda today, we have a welcome by Patrick Deemer, who is the chair of the association, followed by an overview of the main points of our position paper by Dominic Short, who is chairing our digital transformation working group within BT4Europe. So over to you, Patrick.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Welcome, everybody, to the introduction of our position paper on digital transformation. We are the European network of business travel associations. We represent, through our members, 2 million companies, NGOs, and public administration in Europe, which all of them send business travelers on the road every year. BT4Europe was formed by 13 national business travel associations earlier this year to give business travel a stronger voice for decision makers in Europe, in Brussels, and of course in the other capitals of Europe. Next chart, please. The economic impact of our sector is really very significant. Last year, our company sent 22 million business travelers on the road, who conducted 166 million business trips and spent 54 billion euros on those business trips. So it is really significant for our economies. We have identified 4 clear priorities for our association. Sustainable business travel. We want business travel to be more greener in the future, and we published a position paper on sustainability in September. Digital transformation, and we came here together today for the launch of our position paper on digital transformation. We support the restart of business travel after the pandemic, and we are also here to bring out the facts and figures of business travel on a European level in more detail than just the headlines, which I mentioned to you. So thank you very much for joining today. I'm handing over to Dominic Short. Dominic is the president of the Swiss Business Travel Association, and he's the chairperson of our digital transformation working group. Dominic, over to you, please.
Thank you, Patrick. So, when the work group for this paper got started, we decided to do some desktop research and see what the market says. I always like to see what the big brain companies like McKinsey, Boston Consulting Group, Accenture, etc. have to say. And I always like to visit HBR for insight and input. So that's what we did. And because in our work group, we had a colleague from CWT, we also took a statement from them. It's a neutral statement and reflects what all major TMCs are doing right now. So BCG warns that only 30% of the companies currently undergoing digital transformation reach all the targets they had set. HBR confirms that with $7 trillion, massive amounts of money are being invested into changing how companies are doing business. And while CWT reflects that a productive digital experience for the customers is absolutely key, what does all of the above tell us as an organization? It reminds us that most of our members are in the middle of such a massive transformation, and that they are investing massive sums of money to make this a success. It also means that they have expectations towards the industry and, of course, towards us as their representatives. Next slide, please. So before we go any further, A few ideas here about what it is that we're actually talking about. So, what is digitization? This is basically turning paper into ones and zeros. For instance, scanning a document and putting it on a drive so that everybody can check it electronically. Digitalisation is the art of improving processes by leveraging digital technologies. As an example, you can take credit card data, transactions that are being uploaded into finance tools overnight, completely hands-free, nobody touches, and the data is available for further processing. Digital transformation is how we use digitalization to change the way we do business. A good example here is when the banks started to deploy ATMs, they started to move low-value transactions from the counter to a machine. If this can be used as an analogy for travel, we need to make low-value exchange digital and high-value exchange human and face-to-face. Move on, please. Unfortunately, there is still way too much paper in business travel. The pandemic reminded us very clearly. You will all remember printing out all sorts of bits and pieces just to be on the safe side that when you get to the train station or to the airport, you're actually allowed to board. This was a horrible experience, but it reminded us of how big the problem actually still is and how we need to focus on making this problem disappear. Also, at the same time, as we saw before, our buyers, our members are moving from digitalized environments into fully digitally transformed organizations. What do these buyers want? What do they expect? What do they want the business travel industry to do? Of course, they are looking for support in this transformation, and they're looking to us, the associations, their representatives, to support this. And they would like to see the EU support and enable these efforts. Next slide, please. If we want to touch on a classic here, and unfortunately a complicated classic, we can start here with the legendary A1 form. It has now been around for more than 10 years, but unfortunately it is still causing problems and headaches all across Europe. Why? So employers need to prove that they are covering their staff correctly on all levels of social security. Now, this is an important thing and a fine thing, absolutely. But it can mean that paperwork has to be done if only somebody is moving from the Berlin office to the Paris office for a 2-day meeting, possibly. And this ends up in making this process cumbersome. It leads to unnecessary manual administration. We at BT4Europe would like this to be abandoned altogether. No more A1 forms for any trips under 14 days. That will be our ask. For trips that go over 14 days, we would say, okay, if needs be, please make it digital, please make it automated, please make it simple, please make it clever. Please turn it into an app, maybe. Next slide, please. So, we talk also about how we want to leverage digital transformation to facilitate multimodal travel and passenger protection. For any traveler, a trip is always a door-to-door thing. When I think about going somewhere, I think about, will I be taking the bus from the bus stop, or will I walk down the road and take the tram? That will be my first decision. And I think that's how everybody plans their trip, from their door to the door of their business partner, or to the door of their customer, or to the door of the meeting or the convention that they want to attend. So how come it is so hard to get the first and the last mile integrated into this full process? It makes a trip fragmented without any reason. Moreover, without any benefit to anybody. If we want to encourage travelers to use public transport, we have to create a pull effect. This means we need to enable a seamless pan-European experience where all passenger rights are fully covered end to end. Only if we can achieve this, we can have a positive ecological impact. Next slide, please. So what do we want to do? We need to overcome this fragmented experience, the fragmented planning, the fragmented ticketing that does not enable end-to-end planning, payment, and passenger rights. Our members want to support the switch to public transport. This can only happen if end-to-end planning, payment, and data integration is possible. A single cross-border ticket with automated billing and expense management is absolutely key. Most importantly, passenger rights need to be protected by a new legal framework that is based on a door-to-door pan-European one-ticket logic. Next slide, please. Yeah, so what are we asking for and why is it now? Why is it a good time to be asking these asks right now? Next slide, please. Our call to action. We would like to abandon all A1 for all business trips under 14 days and digitally automate all others. Our members also demand full multimodal integration for bookings, payment, door-to-door across borders. They also want their passenger rights fully protected, door-to-door, cross-border, simple, digital, automated, and speedy. Travel service providers operating in the EU need to be encouraged to deliver standardized CO2 data at the point of decision. Anything else is too late. The EU should widen the scope of the Counter-Emission EU initiative to include business travelers staying at hotels or other forms of accommodation. And yes, why now? The time is now, because 2023 is the year that the European Commission launched their multi-modal digital mobility service initiative. What a word. They also review passenger rights across the modes and agree on a way of counting transport CO2 emissions. So all of us together, we must seize this opportunity to make a digital transformation of the business travel sector with all the benefits that we've outlined an absolute reality. As the Commissioner for Transport, Adina Valiant said in December 2020, and I quote, "We have no time to lose in getting fit for the future. Digital technologies have the potential to revolutionize the way we move, making our mobility smarter, more efficient, and also greener." With that, I'd like to close. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dominic. Thank you for this interesting presentation and for your call to action for the European Union and the industry alike. I think many of us have been able to relate to the examples you've provided. We've all been in that situation and we can all support these call to action. We have now some time for a Q&A. So please, those who are watching us from your offices and from home, do not hesitate to engage in this discussion and continue to submit questions through our platform on the Q&A or the chat button at the bottom of your screens. I already have a few questions that have come in for you, Dominic. What are the next steps now? So today we are launching the position paper on the full digital transformation of the industry. What is next for BT4 Europe in this sector?
Right, thank you. Well, of course, the launch today is a massive step. It's the second paper within a couple of weeks. I think for a young organization like BT4 Europe, this is already an extremely good achievement, and I hope this will also be recognized as such. But what will we be doing next? We will now, of course, focus our efforts on disseminating the message of the paper and making sure this process of digital transformation gets underway. We will engage with the EU, in particular with the Commission, who are working on several relevant proposals. I've already mentioned the MDMS and counter-mission initiatives to make sure they enable and support the full digital transformation of the business travel industry. And of course, on top, we will continue the dialogue with the industry, working together to achieve the transformation and make sure the business travel industry does unlock all the efficiency and sustainability gains that our paper has identified.
That sounds great. It will be a busy period for you and your colleagues at BT4E. I have another question, so I will pass on to the next one directly. Do you think this process of transformation of the industry will be a costly endeavor? And do you think what are the roles that industry players in the EU can play in order to help with that?
Well, that's a complicated question, right? But I and I have to be very optimistic that these investments will have to be made anyway, because if we look at all our members, they're in the middle of all these transformations. And I can see it from projects that I'm supporting. If a company starts to completely rethink the way they are doing business, then at one point they will reach travel, and then they will expect travel to transform in the same way as well. But also, I think the benefits will by far outweigh the costs, the investments. Imagine if we can get away with all these bits and pieces of paper that are still getting in our way all the time. This will free up so much more valuable time of normally very well-paid people that are traveling around the world for their companies. And they shouldn't be fiddling around with bits and pieces of paper. They should be focusing on their job, where they deliver the core value to their company. So I'm pretty sure if you can take away paperwork from top travelers, the time that they invest back into their company will be a fantastic gain for the company and for the European economy as such.
Indeed, those sound like very compelling messages. I don't know how anyone could choose to stay on the sidelines in this process. Thank you, Dominic, for this answer. I have another question. So how urgent is it to address the challenges you've outlined in your paper? I think this has partly been addressed through your previous answer, but do you think that the industry and the EU institutions are ready to address these challenges without delay? Or do you think this process will take some time?
Well, we see that 2023 appears to be the year that they want to address these topics. So we need to be there and ready as an association to feed them with as much help and information that we possibly can. And I think the whole climate crisis has made clear to a lot of people that pretty much everything that needs to happen now needs to happen a lot quicker than it might have been thought out before, and digital transformation can be a massive support within the whole change to more sustainable travel. So I think this both goes hand in hand, and I think the urgency is being understood. There is certainly absolutely no time to waste for us to be moving around smarter. And if we go back to the quote, it wasn't me who spoke about a revolution. I was quoting somebody who spoke about a revolution, and I think a revolution is fully due.
Perfect. Well, thank you for that answer and for the energy you bring into this debate. I think you've definitely convinced me. I hope everyone else who's watching and contributed to the debate today is likewise convinced by your calls to action. So I will take this opportunity to thank everyone for attending our webinar, for participating with your questions. If you'd like to know more about the work of BT4 Europe, the European Network of Business Travel Associations, please do not hesitate to check our website, BT4Europe.com, or to contact us directly by email if you prefer. So thank you everyone for attending and for the discussion today. This event has been recorded and will be available on our website. So in case you want to watch it again, you will have that opportunity. Thank you and have a nice rest of your day. Goodbye.
Bye.